political press is really fired up about Benghazi and about the IRS and about, the Associated Press phone logs. If I was in charge of cable news, if I was in charge of all the press, I think there'd be a lot more attention to, outrages like the Obama administration's war on leaks and war on whistleblowers, which is to a degree what the Associated Press thing is about. But they have gone after, to an almost unprecedented degree, people who leak information to journalists. They've charged them under the Espionage Act, which is a very outdated and very far-reaching law. One of the bigger scandals of Obama's first term was the poor way that foreclosure reform happened. There were lots of homeowners who the banks basically illegally screwed up all their paperwork and illegally foreclosed on their homes, and there's not any recourse for these people. To this day, there are people who can't get their underwater homes, they can't get their mortgages refinanced, and the banks are still treating them like crap. The long-term trend of income inequality is one of the biggest problems in America today. Occupy Wall Street got that in the headlines for a little while, but it's very easy to just forget about it once there's a hot new thing to talk about. America has a tragically high gun homicide rate. It always has, more than any other Western industrialized country. Until very recently, it was barely ever talked about in the press. Gun deaths weren't treated as outrages. They were treated as sort of local crime stories if they were mentioned at all. There's probably better coverage now than there was before, after the recent spree shootings and then a much more organized gun reform campaign. But the NRA has operated basically with impunity for years.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
They have suffered basically no political backlash at all for years. They've been allowed to get away with a lot because they're very well funded. They've become arguably much more extreme over the last decade or 2 decades. People can't challenge them, or at least politicians are afraid to challenge them. The press treats gun death as a normal American way of life and not as the outrage it really is.